People are always quick to point at young prospects with a ton of potential, and anoint them as the heir to whoever the world's best player is at that time. What I've found from years of watching and studying the history of the game is that the once-in-a-generation talents don't take a few years to grow into their superstar potential. They are already world-class from the minute they arrive on the scene. Brazilian Ronaldo was the best player in the world at age 19, winning the Ballon d'Or and scoring 47 goals for Barcelona that season, until another generational talent graced the Blaugrana jersey over a decade later. Lionel Messi, you might have heard of him, who was also doing unprecedented things in his teenage years and by his early 20s had people already calling him the greatest of all time. And lastly, the most obvious one, Brazil's iconic number 10 Pele, whose legend began back in 1958, where as a 17-year-old he scored twice in the World Cup final. Back then he was just a boy from Barua. Fast forward 60 years later and we have the boy from banilue, who at just 19 years old will become only the third teenager to ever play in a World Cup final. By the time you guys see this video, Kylian Mbappe could have already made a legend of himself in today's game. During the 2015-16 season, as an upcoming hot prospect, Mbappe would make his Monaco debut at just 16 years old, breaking a record set by Thierry Henry 21 years prior. His first goal would come this season as well, displacing another Henry record not too long after his 17th birthday. Monaco would reward him with a professional contract that spring. And that summer France would host the European Championships, and were the overwhelming favourite to win the competition. After Antoine Griezmann single-handedly disposed the world champion Germans in the semi-final, France were expected to take care of business against Portugal on home turf in the final. An expectation that was further enhanced when Cristiano Ronaldo went off injured 15 minutes into the tie. Though somehow the French and several of the players suiting up in today's World Cup final managed to bottle it and lose 1-0 in extra time. Meanwhile, that summer, Kylian Mbappe led his country to the same title at under-19 level, scoring 5 goals in the tournament. It was the 2016-17 season though that would be Mbappe's breakout year. In a league which PSG were expected to dominate for the foreseeable future, Monaco with several other young talents managed to upset the French giants of recent, unexpectedly capturing a Ligue 1 title. Their domestic success translated to Europe as well, knocking off the likes of Man City and Borrusia Dortmund en route to the semi-final, where they'd play Juventus. Although comfortably beaten by Juve, Monaco had gone further than anyone could have anticipated. Mbappe was obviously a huge factor, scoring 6 goals in the knockout phases and in every round from the group stage onwards. He managed 26 goals in 44 appearances in all competitions. Summer of 2017, it was always going to be challenging for Monaco to hold on to their young core. Several key players departed for Europe's big clubs and they couldn't keep Mbappe either, who joined Neymar back home in Paris on loan for a potential transfer up to 190 million euros, which made him the most expensive teenage signing ever. Mbappe, Cavani and Neymar would create a formidable trio that would conquer all of French football in the 2017-18 season, recapturing Ligue 1 by a landslide margin and winning both the French and League Cups to round out the domestic treble, which saw Mbappe win his second consecutive French title with 2 different clubs in the space of 2 years. Fast forward to the summer of 2018 and move our attention to the World Cup in Russia, a tournament that Kylian Mbappe has used as a platform to put the world on notice and make a statement. Not that he's someone who can become one of the world's best, but that he's already one of the world's best right now. En route to the final, Mbappe has managed 3 goals, netting 1 against Peru in the group stages and another 2 in a memorable performance in the last 16 against Argentina. On top of his brace, he also won a penalty by outpacing the entire Argentina defence. He ended Lionel Messi's World Cup dream there and then on that day. Mbappe joined Pele as the only other teenager to score twice in a World Cup game, and although not scoring, he'd have a good and sensational outing in wins over Uruguay and Belgium. At every point in his young career so far, Mbappe has continued to do things that only the very best have ever done at his age. The World Cup final presents the biggest stage in the sport for 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe, where he can be as great as he wants to be. The kid has been compared to several of the game's greats, all of which hold elements of truth. His age, elite skills and ability to dribble at blistering pace has seen him be compared to Ronaldo Nazario of Brazil. He's been labelled the next Thierry Henry in France, who also started his career off at Monaco and won a World Cup in its early years. And his World Cup heroics so far can only be compared to Pele. But funnily enough, it was Cristiano Ronaldo who he aspired to be like growing up. Either way, no matter who you want to compare him to, the next him or her, whether he has a forgettable or unforgettable performance today against Croatia in a win or loss, we are witnessing the making of football's next superstar, and the man who looks in pole position to take over from the two who have dominated the sport for the past decade. Disclaimer to clear up, I didn't quite manage to get this video out in time before the World Cup final, finishing just minutes before, and obviously if I had uploaded then, nobody have watched during the game, so I had to postpone until now. France did go on to beat the Croatians 4-2 and capture just their second ever World Cup title. Mbappe played great tonight, looked a threat every time he was on the ball, and obviously scored a fantastic goal from outside the box, making the history books as the first teenager to score in a World Cup final since Pele, which is incredible company to be in. And I think everything I said about Mbappe going into this final still stands, so I'm just going to upload the video as is, and hope you guys enjoyed all the same.